I'm Brice Bible, UB's Vice President and Chief Information Officer. I'll be sitting down with students, faculty, staff, and other thought leaders outside of UB to highlight some important technology topics that affect campus community members like you. Let's take a ride in one of our electric Tech Squad vans and meet our guest today. Our guest today is Assistant Vice President and Chief Information Security Officer Joe Grupp. Joe has led many vital IT projects, including moving the entire UB School of Dental Medicine from paper records to a secure digital platform. Now, he keeps UB safe from all kinds of electronic threats and plays a pivotal role in shaping IT security policy for the university. Hello and welcome to this episode of Tech Talk. Today we have Joe Grupp, the Chief Information Security Officer at the University of Buffalo. Joe, welcome and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you join us today. So Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and particularly I understand you had a background in the military.
I did. So right out of high school, I didn't know where my life was going to take me. I decided to join the military and see what that had to offer. I signed up for 4, but ended up serving 10 years in the Air Force, traveling through a couple different states. Stateside, I went from California to Nebraska to North Carolina, and I also served overseas in Saudi Arabia and Qatar.
That gave you your early start. So how did you end up at the university? What brought you into IT at the University of Buffalo?
When I first joined the Air Force, I wanted to be all around aircraft, right? That's why you join the Air Force. So I became a mechanic. And so the first 4 years of my career, I worked on the C-5 aircraft as a crew chief. And it was very exciting at first, but really lost the glamour after 4 years. So, 12-hour shifts and coming home greasy every night. So they gave me the opportunity to cross-train, and I selected computer programming. So the Air Force trained me in computer programming and Java, and I spent the next 6 years in various jobs, from United States Stratcom to the Air Force Weather Agency, programming and doing various technical positions. And then when I had my son and decided that it was time to move back home, I had a quick stint in frontier science over on Maple Road. That got me back in the neighborhood, but I worked pretty hard to get into the university because I just wanted to work here.
That led you into the university, into one of the academic units, right? And then eventually to IT, and now into security.
Right. I did do a stint at the dental school.
Okay.
I helped them onboard electronic medical record system, and then came over to UBIT to serve as a manager in our infrastructure area. But, once we had the opening for the security officer, I started remembering how much fun I had in the military. I was in cybersecurity, and it started coming back to me, and I decided, why not let's see what this happens.
Yeah, and now it's a 24/7 job, I think, right?
Right,
yes.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for coming to the podcast for October, and that is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, right?
It is.
And so we maybe kick into some things that you think are important for those that would see our podcast to be thinking about. What are some of the risks and even unique challenges that a university, both its faculty and the administration, but definitely the students, face? What's unique about a university at Buffalo?
From a university standpoint, universities in general are unique entities. We're not a Fortune 500 company. We're not a bank or a business that only allows, trusted partners on our network, and nobody gets through the front door. And unless you're sitting at your desk, you can't log into the system of record, right? We're a university, and we have to embrace openness and information sharing. And with that openness comes risk, right? So we have to find creative ways to defend ourselves without blocking the ability to share and collaborate. And I think that's very unique to a university.
So those risks that we have to inherently take, what are some of the approaches that that you think are appropriate and what we take here to help protect the institution?
We do a lot of network segmentation. The last I looked, I think we had 400 segments on our network in order to just group things and compartmentalize things so we don't have access to certain systems spill over to access to other systems that don't need to share resources. We do a lot of training. We do a lot of messaging. I mean, it is October. This is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. This is what it's all about. Just getting the word out to let people know that there are risks. And the one thing that we ask is, do your part to not help the bad guys, right? They're trying their best to get our information, and the less help they get, the better position we're in at the end of the day.
As you said, universities are unique environments, right, as compared to other industries. But our faculty and our staff and our students particularly, they have everyday lives that blend into their university life. So they have other security challenges. So, how do some of those, the fact that we have students who have lives outside the university, and yet they bring their technologies onto the campus, and as part of this, how do you handle those kind of unique challenges?
A lot of it goes through policy. We have to have policy, and we have to try and somehow differentiate the students from the business use cases here on campus. And this is where the students live. Not only go to school, but this is their living room. They're in our dorms connecting to the network, right? And they don't have another option for internet access, right? So we have to embrace it, and we have to give them a good experience. And so what we try and do is we try and find ways to ensure that we can maintain openness and give the students what they need. But then when we have a staff member logging into a critical system, we treat those two people a little differently. We treat the devices differently. We have to embrace the connectivity, but not the level of trust by device, right? So when I'm in my office on my computer, I'm not seen as a student, right? I'm seen as a trusted individual. I have two-factor authentication. I have a VPN. I have steps I need to go through to prove who I am, and therefore access the systems I need to access, all while providing at least internet service so the student in their dorm can seamlessly get on Xbox or PlayStation, or do their homework, right?
What are some of the challenges that you see today in security on a campus, but just in general, as compared 5 years ago? I mean, are they different today? And if they are, what are some of the different things that you're seeing that I think our audience might not be aware of that are important areas for us to consider?
Sure. I mean, obviously, the Internet of Things caught on, right? So we have grown the number of devices on our network just incredibly over the past 5, even 10 years. Not only that, students aren't just coming in with a laptop anymore. They have a cell phone and a PlayStation and a laptop and a desktop, and then they're, whatever else they have that needs to connect to the network. But then also, and this isn't necessarily a change, but a growth in the amount of data we need to share with third parties. Whether it be verifying that a student does have a degree and being able to prove that to a third party, or the student wants a discount and we have to prove that they're a student, right? There's so many third parties, and everyone's hungry for data, and our data needs to be shared with third parties more and more, and doing that safely and securely, and making sure that the right agreements are in place and the right plans are in place in case of an incident. Prevention is absolutely paramount when it comes to our ability to share data and trust the third parties that we're sharing with on behalf of students.
So for our audience, as a security officer, as the chief security officer, probably the only way we could be completely secure is to have no access to anything, right? And so what are some of the ways you make decisions about how far to tighten things down? Is it Is it based on regulation? Is it based on the best practice for that type of access or service? I'm just curious what and our audience would be too. Sometimes it looks like you just say, sorry, you can't have access because of security, and yet there's got to be reasons behind those things.
Sure. I mean, with our university, with the amount of research that we do, with the amount of data that we hold. I mean, we're not only doing research for the DoD and NIH, we have a dental school that's actually seeing patients. So we dip into the HIPAA area there. So, whether it be DoD, HIPAA, FERPA, we have so many compliance programs that govern us, and it goes from the federal level to the state level to the SUNY level and then to the UB level, right? So we have cascading policies and governance that we really need to adhere to. My job is to find out how to best adhere to those policies and best practices without interfering with work, right? Because the mission of the university isn't security. The mission of the university is learning and research. Right. So we can't interfere with the university's mission by implementing security policies. And you're right, a computer that's off is a safe computer, but that computer's not supporting anybody.
Not doing any good.
So it's really trying to find out everything that we need to put in place, everything that's a best practice to put in place, but then what won't get in people's way. And if something needs to be done and would get in someone's way, how can we do it differently? How can we mitigate that risk without interfering with work? And sometimes it's a delicate little dance that we do, and sometimes we get feedback where, hey, we're in the way, and then we just go to work and try and figure out another way to do it.
We hear a lot about AI these days. I'm just curious from the vantage point of a security officer, what are the positives that are coming and may come about AI? And then, of course, I'll ask you the flip, too. What are the negatives from AI from a security perspective?
Yeah, I mean, AI has so many potential benefits. I was actually on a call with a vendor today, and they were telling us what AI could do for research. And one of the things that they're talking about is data warehouse, data lake. We have so many different sources and so many partners in the community that are willing to provide data for us to foster our research, right? But none of to share a schema or a set of data standards, right? So if people are storing data about a patient over here, they may be storing it differently than another entity storing data about a patient. And if they both want to give us data and provide us data to research on, I think it's great. And one of the things AI is able to do these days is crawl that data and actually compare it and tell you, okay, I know what a patient over here looks like, and I know what a patient over here looks like. So go ahead and ask me a question and tell me to search something, because I can look at it all. And I think just the ability to aggregate and then enhance and search the data from different sources is amazing. I think that's fantastic, especially when we talk about research.
Sure. So what's a negative coming from AI?
Well, easy information, right? It's been the case in the past where if you wanted to really dig into a system, find some vulnerabilities, try and take advantage of something, you had a lot of homework to do. Now there's a chat bot, you can ask the question, right? Now I can go and say, what's the best way to break into a web server or whatnot? Just the ease of information for nefarious uses. Because obviously more information is better and has great purposes, but that could be also taken advantage of.
So as we are in Cyber Security Awareness Month, what are some steps that maybe our students and our faculty and staff should take to protect themselves? And particularly, in this day and time with all the new threats that we're seeing, what are some key steps they should take?
Two main points there. One, again, going back to not helping the bad people, right? We do see a lot of phishing emails. We do see a lot of people. Email is the front door to the university, right? And so if someone wants to try and take advantage of a certain population, our email addresses are out there. They can figure them out. They can email us. They can email us from Google. They can email us from Yahoo. They could take your pick, right? And they could pretend to be anyone. And so being vigilant and making sure that you're aware and thinking twice before replying to someone who's trying to give away a piano or offer you a job for $1 million a week working from home, just putting a little thought there. And the other thing I would mention is take advantage of the tools that we offer, right? We have good security tools. Our multi-factor authentication is the best way to stop an attack, because even if an attacker was to get your password, they can't do anything. They can try and log into email, but your phone's going to ring, or you're going to get a text message and it's going to say, "Are you logging in?" And if you say no, they're done.
So don't you think you should say no unless you're the one that started that? Okay.
Yes, please. Yes. So take advantage of the tools that we offer. Learn how to use them, and reach out to us if you need help and support using them, because we're here and we want to see you use those tools, because we don't want to see accounts compromised.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, thank you for your time today. I think this was very informative for our audience. So I do appreciate it, especially for this special month, Cybersecurity Month, right? So
thank you,
Great.
Brice.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Let's check in on the results of our social media poll from our last episode. We asked, have you been directly affected by a security breach? Well, luckily, 67% of you said no. Thanks for weighing in. Head on over to UBIT's Twitter X page right now to weigh in on our latest poll. Our question to you is, what do you think the next big thing in technology at UB will be? We can't wait to hear from you, and we'll share the results in our next episode. Do you have a question for me when it comes to technology at UB? Here's your chance to ask. Submit your questions to cio@buffalo.edu, and we'll answer some in the next episode. Thanks for watching this episode of Tech Talk. Check out our other episodes online anytime at buffalo.edu/UBIT/Tech Talk.